Welcome to Powerful Women Rising, the podcast where we ditch the rulebook and build businesses with authenticity, integrity, and a whole lot of fun. Join host Melissa Snow, business relationship strategist and founder of the Powerful Women Rising community, as she interviews top experts and shares candid insights on business strategy, marketing, mindset, and more. Let's get real, get inspired, and rise together. This is Powerful Women Rising.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Women Rising podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. You want to talk about powerful women? Today's guest was doing this interview from her she shed a day, maybe hours away from a hurricane. How's that for Powerful Women Rising? Such a dedication. I love it so much. Anyway, how are you? Are you good? Are you having a good week? Good weekend? What is today? It's Monday. So did you have a good weekend? I had a great weekend. I have got a lot going on right now, but I do have that Taylor Swift shirt, a lot going on at the moment. I could probably wear it every day, but I don't. I also have the one for those of you who are Swifties that says down bad, crying at the gym. And it has down bad checked off, crying checked off, but not at the gym. If you're not a Swiftie, that makes no sense to you. But if you are, you know why my shirt is funny, and also probably could wear that one every day. Anyway, let's dive into today's episode. This is a really fun one because we're talking about Canva and why you should not build your brand in Canva. Initially, when I saw that this is what Kim wanted to talk about, I was like, bro, I love Canva. Don't do this to me. But it actually was really insightful to hear some of the ways that Canva is used well and some of the ways that Canva is misused and some of the problems that people have encountered using Canva for certain things versus using a designer to create something unique for you and your business. And I found this interview really, really helpful and thought-provoking. So if you are somebody who uses Canva in business or you're thinking about using Canva, this is a great interview for you to get you thinking about some of the ways that you could use it and some of the ways you might not want to use it. Canva is actually a great tool. I love it. I will continue to use it. But some of the things that we talked about in this interview have made me question and rethink some of the ways that I am using it. So I'm excited for you guys to hear this interview and very excited to hear your thoughts. After you listen, definitely join me over on Instagram, send me a DM, comment on my post, and let me know what you thought, because this is definitely a conversation starter. So today's interview is with Kim Russo. She is the visionary force behind On Brand Designs, an exclusive design studio nestled in the vibrant heart of Charleston, South Carolina. As the founder, CEO, and lead designer, she not only shapes visual experiences, but also empowers her clients and team. Kim is also the creator of the Profitable Brand Designer course, which teaches creatives how to switch their mindset from freelancer to entrepreneur and create a profitable design business. Hello, Kim. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Me too. Excited to chat with you before the tornado hits.
I know I'm in my bunker. I got to make it into the house, but
wait, you're in North Carolina. Those are hurricanes, right? Not tornadoes.
South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Which thankfully I'm not downtown. I'm just outside of downtown because downtown's about to be a zone that you'll need a canoe or a paddleboard to get through.
Yikes.
So I'm just over the bridge. So I don't have to swim to get back in the house, but I will get wet in the process.
Okay, well, we're sending you good vibes and lots of umbrellas. So before we get started on today's topic, tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do.
Yes. So I own On Brand Designs, which is a creative agency and specializing in brand strategy, logo design, and brand development, as well as website design, print materials and marketing materials. And then I do packaging design as well. So that's actually where I started. And so I still try to work on a few projects here and there. So it's something I'm still passionate about, but really have focused on honing in on brands and building brands to be successful. And then I also have a course for creatives to teach them how to build a profitable brand design business. So I'm actually entering my 6th year at the end of the month in business. And it took me about 2 years to really understand how to run a business and did all the things to learn and educate myself, and really wanted to take what I did to create this profitable six-figure business and teach other creatives how they could do that as well with having a creative background and not necessarily a business background.
That's awesome. I'm impressed it took you only 2 years to feel like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. Well, I kind of had this freelancer mindset because all throughout working in corporate over 15 years, I always did kind of a side hustle thing. So I had clients, there was no logic or rhyme or reason to how I had them or why I had them. It was just whoever came my way. And so I had some clients already when I started my business. It was still in that like same sort of mindset and capabilities and how I presented my work, and just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, whoever came in. So,
yeah, it's evolved a bit since then.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember when I first started my business full time in 2019, and I was still a dating and relationship coach then. And I told my husband when we moved, I was like, I'm not going to get another full-time job. Let me try this full-time and see if I can make it work. I said, give me 3 months. And if I'm not making money in 3 months, I'll go find a job. Looking back on it, I'm like, what the hell did I think was going to happen in 3 months?
Yeah.
That was very ambitious of me. I feel like it took me 3 months just to realize like, oh, no one's going to make me like get out of bed and do any work. Okay.
Yeah.
Guess I have to do it myself. Okay. So we're talking about branding. And before we start talking more about our specific topic today, building your brand in Canva, or not building your brand in Canva, as the case may be, I want to be clear about like, what are we talking about when we talk about branding? Because I think there's a lot of different definitions out there. People talk about like your personal brand, and like part of your brand is your mission and your vision and your values, or your brand is your logo and your colors or whatever. So like when we're having this conversation, what to you is a brand or branding?
It's all of it. It's
Okay.
the whole kitchen sink. So, but it's all elements, and you can break it down to different elements. So when I first started the business, when I was kind of doing the flying by my seat of the pants, I didn't have brand strategy included into my process, which has been a huge game changer in being more effective for my clients and helping to grow my business to be able to make it something that is legit and profitable for my clients as well. And so that was a huge missing piece of branding when I was just going straight into doing a logo and not having it was almost like a guessing game, I would say. Like, yes, I had this skill and I was born with this talent to create logos and graphics, but there was no strategy behind it. There was no intentions with it, but to create an actual brand that has longevity and is going to be able to create sales and bring in the clients that you want. It's all of it. So you don't have to have your logo on everything to know that it's part of your brand's ecosystem. So, and you can't create a logo without understanding your mission and your vision and your values. So it's all kind of intertwined to create up this one big look and feel. And so I like to say that I bring my clients' visions to life, but I can't understand their vision until it's presented to me in a way that you understand everything, including personal brand.
Right.
So that's where that comes into play too. Mostly because me personally, I work with small business clients too. So I am 100% believer if you're a small business and it's not like PepsiCo or Unilever or some of these huge brands that I used to work for who are only trying to appease their clients to the masses, all small businesses have to some sort of way have personal branding backed behind them. So yeah, it's all of it. And, being cohesive, I named my business On Brand Designs because of that ability to keep things on brand. So that if you have a social graphic or presentation, it's matching the colors, the fonts, the tone that you want to get to attract your ideal audience and clients.
So I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially with entrepreneurs who are newer in business or just starting out, is they think of branding as like, okay, I need colors. I need like the fonts that I'm going to use consistently. Maybe I'll get a logo made on Fiverr, or I'll make my own logo in Canva. And now my branding's done. And maybe there's more to it, but that's all I need right now to get started, right? I'll figure the rest of it out later.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works, but what are the downfalls with that strategy?
So you're not setting yourself up for future success too. But there's always a chance to up level too. So what I always say to people when they are kind of in the beginning, maybe that is what you need just to kind of get the inspiration going. But you want to do it with intention and purpose, because otherwise you're wasting time and money and attracting the people that you want to work with. So, one thing that I do when I create a brand, air quotes, you're not just creating one logo too. You also want to figure out like how to represent your logo. There's definitely different formats, submarks, icons, what to do with your logos, what not to do with your logos. So, how to not manipulate it or stretch it, or what colors not to use ever. How to overlay over an image, what type of imagery is going to represent you, but also attract your audience. What type of, if it's lifestyle or coloring or aesthetics, like is it vintage, is it modern? What is the look and feel, so that you're carrying that through to every element? There's psychology too that goes into color. So when we're defining a brand's color, there might be a main color and a subcolor, but there's certainly opportunity to bring in other colors to sort of appease different audiences within one niche, I guess you could say. As for example, like a different landing page, if you have an offer that's specifically for this audience, but you still want it to make sense within your overall brand, you can introduce a new font or a color that still supports the original brand. So when you're starting out, that's going to set the foundation. So if you don't have that set up right, you're going to be lost in creating everything else to support it in the future.
Yeah. And it sounds like even just with colors, there's a lot more to it than like, we go to Canva and it will show us these little like template, like little, like these 5 colors look really nice together. And you're like, oh, okay, great. But it sounds like there's a lot more thought put into it than just like, these colors are pretty and they look nice together.
Yeah, there definitely is. So there's a few things that I like to consider when picking out a color for a brand. One, does it make sense for the industry? So I pull a competitive analysis for what other competitors do, what colors are. So I kind of put them all on a sheet, and I don't go, down a rabbit hole of picking every competitor in the universe, but I tend to do more local competitors if it's a local business, or direct digital if it's a digital world, to get those direct competitors. And I do kind of a snapshot, and you can see what colors are used the most, what shades and tones are used. Is there a way that we can disrupt this whole system of competitors? And then from there, I also go to the personal brand. So that's where we get a chance to like let the personal brand shine in a little bit. What colors do you feel as the owner that you are drawn to? Because at the end of the day, my biggest thing is, so I love teal. That's a big part of my branding. It represents ocean. So there's meaning behind it. I love the ocean water. That's why I moved from New York City to Charleston. And it's just, there's emotion around it for me. And I'm showing up in my brand every day, and I'm the one that's selling it. I'm the face of it. So I want to feel confident in it. And that's what I try to do with my clients too, is you want to make sure that, okay, if you have a really strong feeling about purple, how can we make that part of your brand, but also make sense in the category, stand out amongst the competitors? And then we do an audit of who you're trying to attract. So pulling out any keywords or descriptions of that person that you're trying to bring in, and just looking at the wheel of psychology color and seeing if any of those keywords are making sense for that color and that audience. So
Wow,
yeah,
there is a lot more to it than just
yeah.
these are pretty colors.
Yes.
That's
And then
awesome.
going into like also pairing colors together, and like what tones look good together. When you're going to work on websites, there's also figuring out accessibility. So like a red button is not going to be good for somebody who's colorblind.
Right.
So there's like a lot of things to consider. Red can be an element of your brand, but you might not want to use it for call to action buttons.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot to think about. This is why we need people like you.
So I went to school in New York City, 2000. 2001 to 2005 at Fashion Institute of Technology, and I went for packaging design, but I had a class that was an elective that was psychology of color. And I wish I paid attention a little bit more because now, fast forward in my 40s, I totally have a new outlook on it and understand that there is a whole psychology that goes around it and understanding the emotion that comes from people when they see a color. So like you could walk into a room and someone's got a blue dress on and someone's got a red dress on, and somebody might be really attracted to the girl in the red dress and somebody else might be really attracted to the blue dress. And if you're wearing blue, you want to gain that audience of that person that's really attracted to you in the blue dress. So it's giving you a sense of emotion without, it could be the same exact dress, it could be identical twins, but you're having some sort of trigger emotion from that color.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot of things in college I wish I would have paid more attention to. So we're talking about specifically not creating your brand in Canva. And so just to clarify that, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but are you like anti-Canva? Like, should we not be using it at all? Or what are the like appropriate uses of Canva, if there are any?
Yes, I'm definitely not anti-Canva because it's a useful tool and it helps people succeed and create things that people couldn't do before without somebody like me. Um, so I use it on my team. I have a pro account. I'm not ashamed to say it. I personally, because I'm old school and I've been working with Adobe so long, it's just where I'm comfortable in. There's more creative freedom than somebody like me could do in Canva. But I totally understand for my clients, it's a way to support them into creating graphics. So, for example, I offered as part of my branding packages, setting up a brand kit for you. So I go into your Canva and I set up the colors, the fonts, graphics, imageries, any of the logos that I've created for you. And I put that in Canva and I create templates for you so that you have something to use that is more personalized than just going into Canva and having the same graphic that everybody else has. So that is my biggest thing, is just letting yourself be distinguished in your industry, making sure that you're not using the same exact things that somebody else is and being more unique. And again, attracting that right person, that right audience. You're not just taking a template because you think it looks pretty. It's going to go with your brand and be cohesive. So I give people a starting point, but I totally understand where even like there's so many social media companies and managers now who aren't designers, but they call themselves designers because they're using Canva. But if I can do a little bit of my part to make sure that they're set up with original branding in those templates, then I totally support using it as a tool. Especially, for presentations. I think PowerPoint is really on its way out and, it's an old school tool for presentations. Even I don't like using it anymore. And there's just so much more flexibility to create a presentation and then be able just to play it right there through Canva and having all of your assets there in one place.
Yeah. So when you're talking about having your own brand or, having like a logo, let's say, that is specific to you, for people who are listening who like, okay, I went on Canva, you can search logos on Canva. There's all different ideas in there. I put my business name in there. I changed the color. Maybe I added one of their elements. So I do have my own design, right? Like this is mine, or no?
It's yours, but somebody can have almost an identical thing in a different color. So you're not so worried when it comes to fonts, but whenever I create a logo, I always tweak something in a letter to make it ownable. So, or the way that I'm kerning it and putting it together with the other letters or words, I'm doing something to make it distinguishable so it's still its own unique font. But when you go to Canva and take any of their clip art, and this goes for a lot of AI programs too, sometimes when you're going to Fiverr as well, because it's so cheap because they're repurposing that same graphic over again. And so your chances of seeing somebody else with that same icon is much greater than if you go to a designer who is creating something from scratch that's putting a little more thought into it. It's making it more ownable. So I have a story that blew my mind, but this is when I really got passionate about educating people on when and when not to use Canva. So I had a girl locally in Charleston who put out a post on one of the Facebook groups that she was looking for somebody to recreate the graphic illustration that she had included in her logo. She was opening a hair salon. It was a Tuesday, and she was doing a grand opening on Saturday. Somebody reached out to her that Tuesday that she could not use that graphic because they owned the rights to it. It was their graphic. You could use it for presentations, social media, but to have as your brand identity and your logo mark was not, she couldn't do it. So she reached out and ended up having to pay a lot more in a rush to get a new icon redrawn. So same concept, same idea, but original because it was drawn from scratch instead of pulled from an icon. I've also seen friends and clients that have had the same exact icon. Now the logos are going to look different. I've seen them use, one person use an icon, the other person use the same exact one with different colors. Fonts are different, arranged differently, but I can immediately identify that that's the same exact icon, and it takes away a little ounce of credibility. So, it helps with the longevity. If you're just doing something quick that you're throwing together for a birthday party and you want to put a logo on an invitation, go for it. But to have a brand that you want to build upon and grow, I definitely do not recommend creating a logo. So, but when it comes to fonts, I will say I do also, when I'm working with clients and I know that they want to be building their own creatives in the future, so any of their marketing materials, and I know they're going to be using Canva, I'll try to pick a font that is either available in Canva or upload a custom font for them if they're using the pro version. But I will take that font so that they're able to use it in any other branding, but I'll pull it, get the font on my computer, and I'll tweak it a little bit in the logo so it's still not just a typed out font.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think what you said about longevity is the really important part. Because I think, especially in the beginning of business, we're just thinking like, I just got to get my stuff out there so I can start making money, right? It's like, that's all that matters. And I don't really have the money to invest in a designer. I maybe can afford a Canva Pro account where I can make all of this cool stuff that's going to then, like, I can make a whole entire website on Canva if I want to. And so let me just do all that and put that out in the world and start making money. But we're thinking very short-sightedly at that time, right? And so down the road, when our business is growing and we have these challenges, or people are saying, hey, you can't use that, or you're seeing another logo that you're like, oh, that looks a whole lot like mine. And then you have to start all over and redo things. Like I'm thinking about the person you're talking about that had to change her logo for her hair salon, right? She'd probably already ordered banners and business cards and stickers for the window and like all of the things.
All the things.
But now she's got to start all over.
Yeah. And she really went about it to save money in the beginning, and then it costing her more. And, especially because a lot of the stuff was rush services to get it done. So what I do suggest though, because I have plenty of people who come to me like, I wish I could use you to help me. I just don't have the funds. And so what I suggest is maybe just start understanding your brand. So do some of the research on the people who you're trying to attract, figure out some of the strategy. And then from there, maybe pick a font or a color that makes sense, but avoid the graphics. So if you have to, just put up your name or put up your brand name in a pretty font, and that's it for now. So you're not going too far in a direction that doesn't make sense, but you're able to have something up and running to start building upon. So that's kind of what I give people, because I get it. I mean, not everybody can come out of the gates and invest, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in branding and a website. And, we've got to start somewhere to make money.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And a lot of times it changes too, and it morphs, right? Like what I thought my business was going to be in the very beginning. And I see people do this a lot too. It's like, before I even put myself out there and start selling anything, I'm going to invest $20,000 in branding and design and a website and a photographer and all of the things. And then 6 months from now, I'm like, this is not at all what I want to be doing. Or this is what I thought people were going to want to buy, and it's not at all what they want to buy. So now we have to start over again. So being really clear on the things that aren't going to change versus the things that you want to give some leeway to morph and grow as your business grows too.
And that's why it's so important to kind of understand all that stuff in your brand before you just jump right into it. So, but I do say, when you're bringing also that element of personal brand, you have that color that makes sense for you and your audience. You can always start there. And when you're rebranding or ready to up level your brand, we still have a piece of your history of your brand in there. So that's one thing that I always encourage people to do too, so that there's something that looks the same.
Yeah. Some cohesion.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, how do we know when we should invest in a designer? Like, how do we know when it's time to, like, okay, Canva is working for some things, but I probably need to like take this to the next level? Obviously, our budget is part of the consideration, but what are some other things that we should be thinking about in consideration of hiring a designer?
So I think if you are kind of in a position where you're ready to grow your business and you're still maybe attracting the audience that isn't aligning with where you want to go, maybe it's the current audience, but you want to get a different audience, then that is a time to, like, even just a refresh will re-engage people. So when you have something new, like, okay, I just relaunched my new logo, I just relaunched my new website, and it gives you kind of this invigorating life back into your brand, while not only having more impact with the research that's done when you hire somebody professionally, but kind of giving more life if you're feeling stagnant in your business and just uninspired, I think is a big clue to get it going.
Yeah, for sure. I just had my website redone. Well, my first website I did build in Canva, not going to lie. And it took me so long because I am not a Canva expert and I am not a website designer, but it was good enough for what I needed, right? It's like before we even figure out any like automation or email sequences or anything. And it's like, I remember having a conversation with a guy I was interviewing to do my website. And I was explaining to him, like, well, I have this website. And then when you click on that, it goes to a Google form and the Google form goes to this. And then this happens. And he's like, how's that working for you? And I was like, you know what? It's worked fine for
Yeah.
what it needed to be in the beginning. And now it's time for something else. So I think a lot of times, like, okay,
Yeah.
this was okay for us to get going. And
Mhm.
now
Well,
that
I
we
think
know it's
too,
working, let's take it to the next level.
yeah, like you said, it took you forever to do it. So, while it's not a quick process to build a website in most cases, hiring a professional, though, can take that pain away from you and let you focus on your business, what you do best. So, I don't attempt to do the things that I can't do, but I know I can design a really good website. So, and it, doesn't take me as long as it would take somebody who is not doing this for a living. And then you're losing aspects of a website. When I'm going into a client's website, I do a lot of redesigns, and where how that looks is I go straight into their website and I'm creating a brand new page, so I'm not interrupting their live website. That's if the platform that they're on makes sense still. So
Mhm.
I'll definitely advise platforms based on the goals of the business. But if it's, a platform that still makes sense, so like Squarespace, WordPress, Show It is my favorite. But what I'll do is I will duplicate a page, completely redesign it. But I'm very intuitive with how I design. And so I might go in a section like, oh, wait, we need a call to action here, or we need to tell a story in between here. And so there's things that might come up for somebody who is a professional that does it day in and day out for tons of different agencies and businesses. Knowing what works and what doesn't can offer value that you might not understand or realize that you need to your website to be able to
Yeah.
convert.
Absolutely. And what's funny is I think we always think that we're saving time by doing it ourselves. And like, or not saving time, saving money, definitely not saving time. But like, I think, okay, I can figure this out. I was just having this conversation also with somebody about Instagram. It's like, okay, I can figure out how to do this myself. And it's like, okay, so I saved money paying you for a website. But number one, what money did I lose? Because maybe your website would have worked much better than the one I created. But also, all of the time that I spent trying to figure out how to do that is time that I could have been doing like actual revenue generating activities. So
Exactly.
logically, we think like, oh, I'm saving so much money, but are you really?
Yeah. I have a team for my social media. They're in my internal marketing team, and I could do social media. I help people with graphics and strategy for it every day. And I come up and help, having them step more into the strategy process so I can focus on some other things. But, it's a time suck, and I could be creating and designing websites instead of working on my own.
Exactly.
That, instantly is not going to bring me money, but creating a website or a logo or brand for somebody is.
Yes, 100%. So if somebody wants to connect with you, if they're listening to this and they're like, okay, I think I might need a little upgrade on my Canva business, or they just want to follow you, learn more about what you do. I know you've got a podcast, a lot of great things on your website. So what's the best way for them to connect with you further?
Yeah. So even though I don't post to my own social media, I am on there and I do control the DMs and talk in the DMs. So Instagram is where I'm on the most, and Facebook, but Instagram is on _brand_designs. And a new podcast that launched is called The Profitable Brand Designer. So that is the same name as my course to kind of correlate those two together. So I'm super excited about that, which you can find that also on my website, which is onbranddesigns.com.
Awesome. Super easy. I will put the link for your website in the show notes. I'll put the link for people to follow you on Instagram in the show notes. So definitely connect with Kim if any of this resonates with you, or even if you're thinking like, okay, maybe down the line,
Yeah.
it might be time for me to upgrade some of my branding.
I love a good rebrand because you're taking something that there's some thought process in there, but you're really like getting to pull out more from that person and really elevate and just see the transition. So I love doing like the before afters too. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see we post a lot of before afters where we're holding on to an element usually, but totally, making it shiny and new.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kim. This has been really helpful. And I am now like, maybe I need to do something about all the stuff I created on Canva. So
No.
thanks for making my mind work. And I appreciate you sharing all your insights with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Powerful Women Rising. We hope today's episode inspired you to keep rising. If you love the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. It's like giving us a virtual hug and helps more awesome women like you find the show. Click the link in the show notes to get your free list of top virtual networking events for female entrepreneurs. It's time to make real connections and grow your business with integrity and authenticity. Until next time, keep rising and stay powerful.